My husband cheated on me for 10 years. With my disabled sister. I opened the bedroom door. She stood up. No limp, no cane, just a smile. He looked panicked. She laughed, said, "Guess the act's over." Her wheelchair was empty, pushed into the corner, covered in dust. I walked out, didn't scream, took the car, drove for 9 hours. Mom said she always had back pain. Never saw a doctor. They moved into my house, told neighbors I was unstable. I lived in a basement, ate from vending machines. Last month she applied for benefits using my name. Now I'm her caseworker. She doesn't recognize me. Yet. It started with the sound of laughter. Not just any laughter. That kind of laughter that's too familiar, too intimate. The kind that makes your stomach cold before your brain catches up. I had come home early. The office closed for repairs. I was carrying 2 grocery bags and humming under my breath when I heard it. Her laugh, low and teasing, drifting from the living room like a ghost. I froze in the entryway, my keys still in my hand, the bananas hanging halfway out of the paper bag. The dog, Penny, barked once, tail wagging at my feet, but I didn't move. I just listened. Heard his voice next, a murmur, a chuckle, then a creak of the couch I knew too well. I walked in, just like that. I didn't plan it, didn't pause, didn't expect what I saw. She was sitting on the couch, legs crossed, no wheelchair, no braces, no trembling hands. Just a glass of wine and my husband's hand resting comfortably on her knee. She turned to me first, smiling, then standing. My sister. My disabled sister. The one who claimed she hadn't walked in years. I don't remember dropping the bags, but I remember the sound. Apples bouncing across hardwood. A bottle of olive oil shattering into thick amber on the floor. He stood quickly, stumbling over his excuses before I even asked a question. She didn't speak, just watched me with that same smile, tight, smug, rehearsed. "You weren't supposed to be home?" she said softly. Not, "I can explain." Not, "It's not what it looks like." Not, "I'm sorry." Just, "You weren't supposed to be home." The rest of the night blurred. I walked out the front door and didn't stop until I hit the end of our street. Called a cab. Sat on the curb with oil on my shoes and bruises blooming inside my chest. I stayed in a motel for 3 nights. Didn't answer his calls. Didn't block him either. Let the texts pile up like trash. On the 4th night, I called my mom. She didn't pick up. Not that night. Not the next. When she finally did, her voice was tight, tired. "She told me," she said. "About the affair?" I asked, eyes on the ceiling. "No," she sighed. "About the legs." That was the moment my spine snapped in two. I sat straight up in that dusty motel bed and pressed the phone hard to my cheek. "What are you talking about? She hasn't needed the wheelchair for years," my mother said. "She just preferred it." "Preferred it?" I choked. "She said it gave her space," my mom added, like that explained anything. I wanted to scream, rip the phone cord from the wall and drag it down the hallway with me. But instead, I sat back down, quiet, frozen, like the version of myself that had made excuses for them both for the last decade. They were having an affair. That was bad enough. But this was layered, sick, planned. 10 years of holidays, road trips, shared dinners where I carried her plate and fluffed her pillows, and adjusted her blanket while they stared at each other across my kitchen table like actors waiting for curtain call. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't eat. I went through every memory and ran it in reverse, rewinding moments with new eyes. That time she said she couldn't reach the bathroom on her own. That time he stayed late helping her organize her meds. That time I came home early from work and found her in his hoodie, claiming she got cold. I believed it all. Every word, every limp and wheeze and twitch. I had built her throne. I was the fool who dusted her wheels. I moved in with a coworker, Melissa. She didn't ask questions, just pointed to the futon and gave me a spare key. I showered in silence, ate toast in the dark, cried only once, into a bowl of soup that tasted like betrayal. 2 weeks later, they posted a photo together. Engagement. She had a ring I had helped him choose. I remember the shape, oval cut, vintage. The comments flooded in. She deserves happiness. So glad she found someone who accepts her condition. You both are an inspiration. I laughed until I cried. Then I cried until my ribs hurt. Then I stopped crying altogether. I filed for divorce. Quietly. Cleanly. I didn't ask for the house. Didn't touch the bank account. Didn't even fight for the dog. I wanted out. Just out. They moved in together. Into the house I painted. The house I cleaned. The house I scrubbed her vomit from after the flu that was probably morning sickness she didn't want to explain. I found a job 2 towns over, started over, changed my number, bought a used car, and started therapy on Thursdays. But the part no one tells you about healing is this. It's not a straight line. Some nights I still woke up shaking. Other nights I stared at my ceiling fan and imagined the moment she stood up. Over and over and over. They called sometimes, from blocked numbers. Once she left a voicemail asking if we could be adults about everything. Another time he asked if I'd sign a statement about her disability for tax reasons. I blocked them both. Then I unblocked them. Then I blocked them again. Melissa said I needed closure. I told her closure was a myth sold to women like scented candles. I thought I was done with them. Until the day I got the letter. It was addressed to my old name. From a government office I didn't recognize. It was a claim for benefits on my behalf, filed by someone else. Someone who had used my social security number. Someone who was pretending to be me. And under witness to disability assistance, there it was. Her signature. Emily Watson, my sister. The worst part wasn't that she used my name. It wasn't even that she forged a federal document. The worst part was that she did it with the same confidence she used to smile at me across birthday cakes. She never expected to be caught. Because for 10 years, I never questioned her once. Not when she asked me to fill out her medical history forms. Not when she handed me her prescriptions and made me call them in because it was too hard to dial. Not when she faked the tremor in her hand as I helped her butter toast. So, when I saw her signature next to mine on a disability claim filed in my name, I wasn't surprised. I was embarrassed. I felt like the ghost of the fool she'd trained me to be. I took the letter to a lawyer. A woman named Claire, sharp-eyed and unsentimental. She flipped through the documents and asked just one question. How long has she been pretending to be disabled? I opened my mouth, closed it, then opened it again. Since we were 22. Claire let out a long, low whistle. And you helped her for how long? 10 years. She didn't flinch. This isn't just fraud, she said. It's systemic. If she's applied for anything using your name, we can track it. I shook my head. Why would she use my name? Claire looked up. Because she already used hers and burned it. The next few weeks were a haze of phone calls, document requests, identity theft reports. Turns out she had applied for 2 different benefits programs, both in states she didn't even live in. She had a driver's license under my name, a mailing address that redirected back to their shared house. My name was on everything, from energy assistance forms to a pharmacy discount card, and I had no idea. Not until she stood up in my living room. Not until the act slipped. I was angry, yes, but underneath the anger, there was a new, colder thing growing. Resolve. A hunger for something that didn't look like revenge but felt sharper than justice. Claire built a case. We pulled public records, got transcripts, subpoenaed her employment history. That was the kicker. Emily had been working part-time for years, remote jobs, paid under an LLC she registered in my maiden name. "She's careful," Claire said, "but she's not as smart as she thinks." That sentence stayed with me, because for 10 years I'd lived in her shadow. I was the able sister, the helper, the backbone, the one who brought her ice packs, the one who held her hand during appointments, the one who defended her when people whispered things like, "Is she really that sick?" And now I was the shell of a woman who once called that person family. I started keeping a journal, something Claire recommended. She said it would help if I had to testify, but truthfully, it helped because I didn't know how else to stay sane. Some entries looked like this. Today I remembered the time she cried because she said people looked at her like a burden. I made a Facebook post defending her. He commented with a heart emoji. Now I wonder if they were in bed that night, reading it together. She asked me once if I believed in karma. I said yes. She laughed and said, "Then you must be terrified for me." One afternoon, I got a call from the case officer assigned to the fraud report. "I just spoke to her," he said. My heart dropped. "She knows?" "She denied everything," he replied. "Said she doesn't even speak to you anymore." "Did you tell her I filed the claim?" He paused. "We had to. It's procedure." I hung up and sat in silence for nearly an hour. That night, my mailbox was open. Empty. Nothing stolen, just pried open and left that way, like a warning or a message. 2 days later, Melissa found a note under our doormat, in neat block letters. "People make mistakes, but airing family business is cruel." No name, no return address. Claire filed for a restraining order. Emily and David, yes, I should name him now. My husband of 11 years, my partner, the man who made pancakes on Saturdays and told me he loved the way I smelled in the mornings. He showed up at my office. He waited in the lobby. I didn't see him until I left. There he was, sitting on the bench like he had every right to be there. "Please," he said as I walked past him. "Can we just talk?" I stopped, not because I wanted to, because I needed to hear what he would say. "I made a mistake," he started. I laughed, loud, right there on the sidewalk. "Which part? The decade of lying? The sex in our house? The fraud?" "She needed me," he said. "You have no idea what she's been through." My eyes narrowed. "I spent 10 years making sure she didn't have to go through it alone." "She was always scared," he mumbled. "You were strong. She wasn't." "She was manipulative," I snapped. "And you were weak enough to believe her." He looked at me then, not angry, not regretful, just tired, like someone who thought the game would go on forever and was now being told the lights were out. "You don't have to ruin her," he said. That was the moment I knew I had already won. Because he didn't say, "Don't ruin me." He said, "Don't ruin her." He was still protecting her, still choosing her. Claire filed the suit 3 days later. Identity theft, fraud, misrepresentation of a federal claim. Emily's lawyer tried to negotiate. A settlement. Silence. An apology and damages, they offered. I declined. I wanted court. I wanted testimony. I wanted to say her name on the stand and watch her try to limp in front of a judge who had her real medical records in his hands. I wanted the mask to fall. And the beauty of it? I didn't have to make a scene. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to ruin her. I just had to tell the truth. She walked in without the wheelchair. The courtroom went still. No explanation, no apology, just heels clicking on the tile like she'd earned the floor. Her lawyer fumbled. The judge raised an eyebrow. Claire handed over the documents, records, timestamps, video stills. My sister's fake medical forms, her secret jobs, the benefits filed in my name. David sat behind her. Didn't look at me once. When I testified, I didn't cry. I didn't raise my voice. I told the judge how I fed her, bathed her, paid her bills, how I thought I was family, how she smiled the first time she stood up in front of me. The room was silent when I finished. The verdict: guilty of fraud, identity theft, and perjury. Sentence: 18 months probation, full restitution, public record. Outside, David tried to speak. I walked past him. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. The letter came 2 months later. No return address, just my name, handwritten in ink I recognized. Inside, a folded sheet of lined paper and a single sentence. I did what I had to. You always had everything. I stared at it for a long time. Not because I didn't understand. Because I finally did. That was her truth. She believed it. Believed she was owed. That I was the villain for being normal, healthy, trusted. That pretending to be broken gave her power. And I was the fool who kept feeding it. I didn't reply. But I did frame the letter. Not to forgive her. To remind myself what entitlement looks like when it's dressed as pain. She lost everything. Her job, the apartment, even David, who vanished quietly after the court date. Last I heard, she was living with an aunt in Ohio. Not in a wheelchair, just alone. And me? I moved on. A new job, a new apartment. Real friends, real conversations, real sleep. I started using my full name again. No fear. And when someone asked what happened between me and my sister, I smiled and said, she stood up. The letter wasn't the last. 2 more came that year. One with an apology that read more like a performance.